The three major presidential candidates were in areas surrounding the capital today, where a large portion of the country's population resides. Overseas voting is underway across the globe for Koreans abroad. We hear from those who cast their ballots, their hopes and wishes. The United Nations has held its first high-level session to address human rights abuses in North Korea, where shocking testimonies were shared by those who fled the regime. It's May 21st, 8 p.m. in Seoul. This is Newscenter.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Yoon Jung-min. With the presidential election less than 2 weeks to go, the Democratic Party candidate Lee Jae-myung sought voter support in the city of Incheon, the home of his National Assembly constituency, which is significant for him in more than one way. Our correspondent Shin Ha-young explains.
Democratic Party presidential candidate Lee Jae-myung has continued his campaign in the Greater Seoul metropolitan area for the third consecutive day, this time in the city of Incheon.
The sea takes in both murky and clean water. Isn't that the spirit of unity in Incheon? Winning in Incheon is what makes it a true victory. Will you help make that happen?
Incheon holds special significance for Lee Jae-myung as it was a stepping stone in his political comeback after narrowly losing to former President Yoon Suk-yeol in the 2022 presidential election. During his Wednesday rallies, Lee visited Korea-U district, the constituency he represents in the National Assembly. Following the previous presidential election, Lee won a by-election in Korea-U and was re-elected in last year's general election. Lee thanked the people of Korea-U for supporting his comeback. He aimed to win votes by sharing his economic vision for Incheon, a global gateway city with an airport and port focusing on logistics and the bio industry. Ahead of Wednesday's rally, he also laid out pet-friendly policy pledges. In a social media post, he promised to enact a so-called Basic Animal Welfare Act and work to create a government agency dedicated to promoting animal welfare. He also pledged to reduce pet care costs, especially for veterinary services, by setting standard fees and promoting the expansion of pet insurance. He also addressed the issue of stray cats.
Since more than 25% of people have pets, we need appropriate policies for them. On issues like stray cats, where opinions differ, we should find ways to coexist without causing problems for others.
Additionally, he pledged to prevent animal abuse and abandonment by introducing a policy that bans offenders from owning animals for a set period. Shin Ha-young, Arirang News.
The People Power Party candidate Kim Moon-soo also chose to stay in the capital region, in Gyeonggi-do province near the border with North Korea. Meanwhile, some in the conservative bloc seek to distance themselves from the impeached president ahead of the election. Our correspondent Kim Do-yeon has more.
Continuing his efforts to boost support in the capital region, People Power Party candidate Kim Moon-soo on Wednesday chose northern Gyeonggi-do province, appealing to locals that he's a two-term Gyeonggi-do province governor. As he's the one who started the GTX, an express railway system connecting the outskirts of Seoul to its center, he pledged there will be more of these for all.
I promise you, I'll make sure anyone can travel anywhere within an hour. I'll deliver a transportation revolution.
Kim started his rally from the northwest and moved clockwise to hit 6 cities in one day. Areas Kim rallied also near and border North Korea, and much of the land here remains undeveloped due to long-standing security and environmental restrictions. Kim says if elected, he'll lift those limits to attract companies and institutions to create more jobs and opportunities in the region. Meanwhile, his efforts towards a merger with a fellow conservative rival, the Reform Party's Lee Jun-seok, continued, as he called the move a game-changer in the current losing landscape.
As for a dramatic turnaround, there's candidate Lee Jun-seok, who once served as our party leader and is now running independently. I believe that in the end, he and I will merge our campaigns and that he could play a key role in leading us to victory in this presidential race. I'm hopeful things will work out.
But Lee Jun-seok is still publicly rejecting the idea. Still, the outreach continues. PPP lawmaker An Chol-soo visited Lee on the campaign trail in an apparent attempt to open dialogue. Momentum is building, though. Former PPP chairman and the primary runner-up Han Dong-un began campaigning for Kim on Tuesday, though they haven't appeared together yet. Han made clear that he wouldn't hit the trail unless the party distanced itself from impeached ex-president Yoon Suk-yeol. Now that Yoon has left the party, Han appears to be on board. And to add to the distancing, PPP interim leader Kim Keon-hee publicly apologized for controversy surrounding former First Lady Kim Keon Hee. After his debate proposal for First Lady prospects was rejected, he urged the DP to suggest their own format, saying vetting should still happen. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
Also on the campaign trail, Reform Party candidate Lee Jun-seok has rejected yet again calls for a coalition by PPP contender Kim Moon-soo, as we just heard. Speaking here in Seoul earlier today, Lee brushed aside attempts by the main conservative camp to seek a merger. Lee currently ranks third in public polls and has shared hopes to see his standing rise after the remaining 2 live TV debates. Later in the day, he headed to Seongnam, where he sat down with students at Gachon University and toured Seongnam Medical Center. Overseas voting is well underway across the globe to elect Korea's next leader, as more voters are heading to polling stations for their hopes and wishes. Our Lee Jun-seok brings the story.
Song Jin-ok, a Korean national living in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, drove 4 hours to a polling station in Virginia. Arriving at daybreak to cast her vote, she said that she'd never felt such an urgent need to vote in all her 16 years of living overseas.
There is something deeply moving about stamping my vote. I used to think my vote was too small to matter, so I often gave up. But this time, I hope it becomes a vote for real change.
With overseas voting for South Korea's presidential election now underway, Korean nationals across the United States are heading to polling stations in what they describe as a hopeful, even emotional act of civic duty. For many, this election feels more personal than ever.
I hope this election brings us closer together, a society united through democracy.
Meanwhile, others cast their ballot, thinking of future generations.
I want our children to grow up in a society where responsible leaders step up.
The overseas voting period began Tuesday and runs to Sunday, taking place across 118 countries according to the National Election Commission. A total of 258,000 overseas voters registered for this year's election, which is roughly a 14% increase compared to the previous election. Overseas voters in Asia account for the largest bloc at around 129,000 registered voters, followed by the United States and Europe.
Perhaps this election was one that didn't need to happen, which makes it even more crucial to choose the right leader.
In Japan, out of around 400,000 eligible voters, around 9.4% have indicated their intention to vote. The future of Korea-Japan relations under the next president is one of their top concerns.
There are many complex historical issues, but I hope the 2 countries can at least build a cooperative relationship on current matters.
In an effort to improve accessibility for Korean citizens living abroad, the NEC has installed new polling stations such as those in Lithuania, Estonia, and Luxembourg. As the overseas voting window continues ahead of the domestic election period, many voters say they're not just casting a ballot, but expressing their hopes for a better, more unified country. Lee Jun-seok, Arirang News.
At the United Nations, 2 North Korean defectors detailed troubling tales of human rights abuses in North Korea. during a meeting convened for the first time at a high level to address the problem. Our North Korean affairs correspondent Kim Keon-Hee covers their testimonies.
The first session of its kind at the General Assembly featured live testimonies from North Korean defectors. Kim Eun-ju shared her story of escape and the trauma she faced.
On our first night in China, my 40-year-old sister was kidnapped, sexually abused, and left on the roadside. Later, my mother, sister, and I, all of us, were sold for only 2,000 won, less than $300. This tragedy is not only my family's story. Many others face the same brutal reality under the North Korea regime.
Kang Gyuri, a relatively recent defector, spoke about many still in the North.
There are still billions of North Koreans who have no access to any information about the outside world, who believe that they have no choice but to live under 3 generations of the Kim dynasty's personality culture.
This point was also highlighted by UN official Ilse Brands-Carries.
The laws carry severe punishments, including the death penalty in some cases. The internet is not available. Similarly, freedom of movement is extremely restricted.
Also discussed were the global security implications of North Korea's human rights violations.
The DPRK is exporting instability and violence to the Middle East and to Europe. And the root cause of this is the human rights violations that the DPRK perpetrates.
Elizabeth Selman, UN Special Rapporteur on North Korean human rights, tied militarization to more exploitation, citing troops sent to Russia.
As the DPRK expands its extreme militarization policies, it exacerbates the extensive reliance on forced labor and quota systems.
North Korea's permanent representative to the UN, Kim Song, rejected the claims, accusing Western nations of politicizing the issue.
It is shocking that such a meeting is convened going against universal will of the international community.
Despite Pyongyang's rejection of the claims, Tuesday's session has once again brought North Korea's human rights situation to the global forefront. Kim Jong-sil, Arirang News.
U.S. President Donald Trump has shared an ambitious plan to protect America from missile assaults dubbed Golden Dome. That'll come with a hefty price tag. Lee Seung-jae has more.
U.S. President Donald Trump announced on Tuesday his plan for a missile defense program dubbed Golden Dome. The multi-layered system would allow for U.S. weapons to be put into space for the first time.
Thank you very much, and thank you for being here in the Oval Office, one of the great places of the world, as we make a historic announcement about the Golden Dome Missile Defense Shield. That's something we want, and Ronald Reagan wanted it many years ago, but they didn't have the technology. But it's something we're going to have. We're going to have it at the highest.
The Golden Dome will include ground and space-based capabilities that can detect and destroy missiles at all major stages of a potential attack. Trump said that he had promised the American people that he would build a cutting-edge missile defense shield to protect the U.S. from the threat of foreign missile attacks. However, the ambitious plan also comes with a massive price tag.
I'm also pleased to report that the one big, beautiful bill will include $25 billion for the Golden Dome to help construction get underway. That's the initial sort of a down deposit. And we have probably, you're talking about, General, we're talking about $175 billion total cost of this when it's completed.
However, earlier this month, the Congressional Budget Office estimated that deploying and operating just the space-based interceptors of the defense system could cost up to $542 billion over the next 20 years. Still, citing the increasingly sophisticated threats from North Korea, Russia, and China, Trump said the system could be operational within 3 years, as he named General Michael Gutlein, Vice Chief of Operations for the U.S. Space Force, to oversee the Golden Dome project. Lee Jun-seok, Arirang News.
Trade officials from South Korea and their U.S. counterparts opened a fresh round of tariff talks in Washington, D.C. on Tuesday local time. On the agenda are 6 key matters, including trade balance, non-tariff measures, and economic security. This is the second round of technical talks and likely the last, ahead of the political transition here in Korea, as a new government takes office on June 4th. South Korea is seeking lower tariffs, while the U.S. is expected to seek more imports and regulatory changes. Findings for the first 3 weeks of May show a slump in Korean shipments overseas. According to the Korea Customs Service, exports from May 1st to 20th were down 2.4% on year. By destination, shipments to the U.S. market slipped in light of tariff-related repercussions, amid a sharp decline in auto exports. Korean shipments to the EU market also lost ground. This latest drop in exports comes after 3 straight months of growth through April. Korea's defense industry is seeking to make strategic strides in strengthening regional security, both at sea and in the air, and its efforts are on full display at a regional exhibition in Malaysia. Our defense correspondent Kim Keon files this report.
K-Defense looks to expand its realm to Southeast Asia. The Langkawi International Maritime and Aerospace Exhibition 2025, the largest exhibition of its type in Southeast Asia, kicked off on Tuesday. Among the Korean defense companies taking part is LIG Nex1. With the South China Sea disputes propelling Southeast Asian states to strengthen their naval capabilities, LIG Nex1 is showcasing its Haegum, ship-to-air guided missile defense system, hoping to attract buyers such as the Malaysian Navy. Many officials from other countries such as Vietnam and even Saudi Arabia also showed their interest.
We are currently focusing our promotional efforts on a multi-layered air defense system. In the long term, we plan to expand into unmanned systems, space, cyber, and AI technologies.
Korea Aerospace Industries was visited by the Malaysian Prime Minister. KAI signed a deal with Malaysia in 2023 to export 18 FA-50 fighter jets. And with the very first one expected to be delivered next year, KAI is pushing for the second phase of the procurement project as Malaysia plans to acquire an additional 18 aircraft. The exhibition gave a peek into where K-Defense stands in the global market. European missile firm MBDA had a mock-up of KAI's FA-50 and KF-21 with its own missiles loaded, promoting these to Malaysia. While sharing ideas of how MBDA could cooperate with KAI, the technical executive cited advanced technology and rapid delivery as some of the South Korean defense industry's strengths.
It's how rapidly you can bring those capabilities to market. KF-21 as an aircraft is a fine example of going from a concept phase all the way to something that's actually flying, integrating modern advanced missiles like Meteor on there, and actually doing test firings and maiden flights with it.
Based on the credibility it has earned, K-Defense aims to explore more opportunities in the global defense market, starting in Malaysia. Kim Keon Hee, Arirang News, Langkawi.
South Korea and Japan have decided to temporarily set up separate immigration counters for each other's citizens in June to make traveling easier. The pilot program will run for a month from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at 4 airports: South Korea's Gimpo and Kimhae airports and Japan's Fukuoka and Haneda airports. The fast lane services will be available to South Korean and Japanese citizens who have visited the other country at least once in the past year. The two nations agreed to launch the service as they celebrate the 60th anniversary of their diplomatic relations this year. For those looking for a place to work out, capital Seoul may be the right choice for you. Until the end of June, the city offers an outdoor workout event aimed at building a broader culture of fitness. Our Choi Soo-hyung was there.
As K-pop star Rosie's song Apa트 plays, people start copying the dance moves. This is Seoul Plaza, and right now it's K-pop dance practice time. Following the dancer's lead, everyone enjoys the moves and gets soaked in sweat.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, yeah, we were not expecting to come here, but I've heard this song a lot. I've heard it on the radio and stuff, so it's nice that we can kind of connect to it too, especially because it's in English.
Taking place in the evening under the clear spring sky, the event is particularly popular among office workers.
I love it. I usually don't have much time with my baby to have fun because of work, but thanks to this event, we're having a great time.
The 2025 Seoul Plaza Exercising is held every Thursday and some Tuesdays until June 26th, starting at 7 p.m. The events offer fun and easy group workout programs for anyone, whether they are a complete newbie or they just love to exercise. Each session will feature a different activity such as Zumba, yoga class, or cheerleading, so participants can try something new every time. In one corner of the plaza, visitors can also try sports that are hard to find in everyday life in South Korea, such as lacrosse and badminton, which is similar to badminton, but played with table tennis-style paddles. Now in its third year, the event drew around 10,000 people last year. During the event, a coaching program with fitness experts allows participants to get one-on-one advice on posture correction and diet. Choi Soo-hyung, Arirang News.
Today is Homan in the traditional calendar, which means it is entering summer. Many areas recorded the hottest morning in May ever today. Even during the day, Seoul reached 28 degrees Celsius, and with high humidity, it feels like even hotter at 30 degrees. In addition, there will be showers everywhere due to the atmospheric instability during the night. The expected amount is 5 to 40 millimeters. Showers could be accompanied by gusty winds, thunder, lightning, and hail in some areas. More rain is forecast from dawn tomorrow in central areas and from the morning in southern areas. Most of this rain will stop by the afternoon. Tomorrow morning, Seoul will start off at 20 degrees, Daegu and Busan at 19 degrees. Highs will move up to 27 degrees in Seoul, Daejeon at 26 degrees. Summer-like heat will subside a bit from Friday. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world. That is Newscenter for tonight. Thank you for watching. A panel session up next.